right, we're going to begin. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we starting with Jen?
No,
Okay. Are you reading?
Sure. Request to withdraw specific items from consensus items.
No.
Okay. I move that the following consensus items be approved as listed in the administrative memorandum, A through L.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. And I don't think we have any bus drivers here.
Wait, state what it is, though.
What's it?
State what it is.
Oh, well, last month we gave out, what is it called? White Knuckle Awards for all the bus drivers for doing an exceptional job this past year throughout this wonderful winter. And I don't think we have any bus drivers. Do we have? I didn't see any. Okay. We'll move on then. 2 minutes.
Okay. Statements from individuals and groups.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll do the 2 minutes, then we'll do John.
Okay.
All right. If you have 2 minutes, go for it.
Up, down.
Hi, Karen.
Just wait till everybody gets that, and then it's all here, so if there's something that I don't get to, don't start with me.
Not until we pass it around.
For those of you I'm Karen Hall, parent of 2 kids in the district. And this really is a summary of a lot of different conversations that I've had with parents, other parents, and also with the professionals and people here at the district. So at the February budget workshop, I expressed my support for the REACH program, along with the music and the small class size. The REACH program has been eliminated, and I am concerned that without a plan to move forward, the needs of those students in grades 3 through 6 will not be met. In my opinion, it's a really critical age. There are so many things that have to be addressed, and everything from how to study for a test to good homework practices, how to be creative, all of those things it's a very important age to reach out to them in those ways. So I would like to know if the board has any specific plans for this group of students, and also to share some ideas and thoughts. And again, these are not all my thoughts. These are a lot of other people with input on this as well. Before I go on, I do recognize the challenges with the budget. I have been at a lot of meetings and things over the last couple of years, so I do understand the challenges, but I am willing to think about it differently, and I think there are a lot of people out there that are willing to think about it differently. So Mr. Graff and I talked a couple weeks ago, I think, about trying to pull a group of parents and possibly some teachers together to think about this in a creative way. And we're ready, the parents are ready. We have a group that are really interested, and I would really like to see a plan before the end of the school year, so by the end of June of 2014, how to address the needs of the students moving forward. So I'm asking for your support as we move forward, and what exactly do I mean by support? So I've got a few things here. I would love to have a board member or two on this committee with parents and teachers to talk about creatively, how are we going to address the needs of these students? If classroom differentiation is required within each classroom, is there going to be staff development or support for that? Can the district bring in a consultant who is trained in addressing the needs of gifted, talented, and enrichment? Number 4, can the district explore opportunities that bring students together for academic competitions? And some of this is already being done. My kids are in the elementary school, so I'm certainly more familiar with what is happening there. But science fairs, math olympiads, citizen science, all of those things. There would likely be some minimal funds and supplies required for some of these things. And also to look at what other schools, other public schools are doing to address the needs of this audience, this group of students. And not that we need to duplicate their efforts and what they're doing, but what might work? Are there parts of things from other districts that are working to address those needs? And also, can the district hire maybe a part-time person to push into classrooms instead of pulling students out? Ideas that will likely be discussed with our small group of parents and teachers. Are there opportunities to utilize existing staff? I know there's been a lot of change with curriculum and things, and over the last, recently. But are there opportunities to utilize existing staff? How can we get the students involved with ideas and actually, part of the project itself? Well, how can we use students? And again, organize various activities, math club, science club, book club, things like that. And what is the best classroom structure for the students? Is cluster grouping the best way to approach putting those students together in the future or in their classrooms? Can the school utilize parents more in 3 through 6? I feel as if the GLP is a very, we are welcome to come in, and I think there are some opportunities to get parents more involved with projects and things in the elementary school as well. Is there an opportunity to strengthen the academics committee within PTA? I spoke with Tiffany Quaz about there is an academic competitions committee. Is there more opportunity to work with them and possibly help to, in the future fund projects or clubs or whatever it may be? I think there's an opportunity there. Also, an opportunity maybe to partner with the Eden Foundation for things for teachers, whether it's sabbatical leave or various specific projects. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions.
May I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you willing to share it?
Am I what?
Willing to share it?
Sure.
Now, I always get out.
Because I asked you that before, that's why. And that's how you answered. So think about it. Think about it.
Okay, I will think about it.
Okay.
I have a question also. Have you talked to Kelly and LaRosa at all?
I have talked to Kelly LaRosa. I have, yes.
Can you share anything?
It was a very brief conversation. It was very brief. So I can tell you that Kelly and I have been talking more about the agriculture parts, which is completely separate. Maybe then for the next meeting, I'll request a 10-minute block to talk about it. But so we have very briefly talked about it, but yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Nope. All right, then Jen Tylock
The Kennys.
with the Kenny Awards.
Hi everyone, as you know from the last time that we were here, Eden was competing with about 27 other school districts for the Kenny Awards, which is global awards program for musicals. And we were graciously awarded a nomination and as a finalist. And so these students and parents up here all were recipients of nominations in individual categories as well as full group categories. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves and what they were nominated for.
I'm Cassandra Funk, and I was nominated for the Best Actress in a Leading Role Award.
My name is Ailsa Manicki. I was nominated for the Blossom Cohan Award, which is for anybody in a production that is leaving an impression on the audience.
Schaffer. I was nominated for the Best Supporting Actress role.
Can you guys do me a favor? Can you also say what part you played?
Oh.
Because you look so different up on stage. Okay, like her hair is nothing like it was on stage, that I know, so.
I played Holly.
I was Julia.
And
I was Grandma Rosie.
That's right.
my name is Krista Greiner, and I was one of the actresses nominated for the Best Ensemble, and I was the Twinkie Lady.
There you go.
Hi, I'm Anna Whiteman, and I was also nominated for the Best Ensemble, and I was the Cat Lady.
Hi, I'm Merrick Allen. And I was nominated for also Best Ensemble. I was the Trekkie guy.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Dingman. I was also nominated for the Best Ensemble. I was the Sideburns Lady, and all together, the four of us make the losers at Table 9 to have a kid love.
We're missing 2 nominees tonight for that. They couldn't be here. Ed Custer, who was the loser guy, and Adam Murtecki, who was the haircut guy.
Hi, I'm Isabel Basin Brown. I'm an alum of this, of both the program and of Eaton in general. I was the choreographer this year, and this is Warren Henning, my fantastic dance captain. And not only were we nominated for Best Dance Performance, but we won it.
Nice.
Hi, I'm Andrew Pizanic. I played Robbie Hart, and I was nominated for Best Actor in a Lead Role in that award.
Hi, I'm Zach Gilbride, and I was nominated for Best Supporting Actor in the musical, and I played George, the long-haired Boy George keyboardist.
Hi, I'm Greg Hunt, and Eden was nominated for the Best Scenic Design.
Also, on top of that, we did receive a nomination for Best Overall Performance, and we did receive a nomination for Best Orchestra Performance. And all in all, Eden, we lucked out pretty well because we were the only school to have individual students and ensembles nominated in every single one of the available categories. So for a small school, we did pretty good.
And I'd also like to say, so the shirts that I see is the way that you performed at the Kennys, which was such a blast, and you guys did such a great job at the Kennys on a stage that you're not used to, under a really big audience. So that was fun, too. Yeah, it was. Great job, guys.
Congratulations.
They won't.
Oh.
Up to you.
Ready, Chief?
Ready?
Resignations. I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resignation for the purpose of retirement of teacher Irene Lavin be accepted effective June 30th, 2014. The board and administration wish to thank Mrs. Lavin for her 13 and a half years of service to the district.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resignation of long-term substitute business teacher Carrie Daly be accepted effective May 15, 2014.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
Appointments. I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, after successfully completing her probationary period, Nicole Lauer be granted tenure as a reading teacher effective September 1st, 2014.
Second.
Discussion?
I'd just like to say that this is the second tenure area for Nicole Lauer. She's also an elementary teacher. This was the second year of her second tenure area as a reading teacher, and depending on what her assignment is moving forward, she could either obtain seniority in elementary ed, reading ed, or both. And she's done a great job in both areas.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the following personnel be appointed for summer school positions per contract effective July 7th, 2014 through August 15th, 2014. Christine Duringer, special education teacher, 3.5 hours a day. Kelly Franzak, special education teacher, 3.5 hours a day. Jamie O'Brien, teacher aide, 3.5 hours a day. Tom Wall, teacher aide, 3.5 hours a day. Judith Rizone, teacher aide, 3.5 hours a day. Elaine Funch, teacher aide, 3.5 hours a day. Melissa Cron-Gallman, speech therapist, maximum 48 hours. John Robbins, occupational therapist, maximum 48 hours. Marissa Falicaro, adapted PE teacher, max 30 hours. Gail Krebs, substitute teacher aide. Sheila Sickow, substitute teacher.
Second.
Discussion?
Why do we have a gym teacher in the summer?
There are certain things that are on students' IEPs that you have to provide, and I would suggest to you, I don't know if Sean is here and she wants to add when I'm finished, that PE or any type of physical activity may be one-for-one. Is there something else you want to add to that, Sean?
No, about the adaptive, because that is an IEP.
It's a requirement on the IEP.
Yeah, but can I just
Absolutely.
I didn't mess up on this, and just so the board knows, in June, I would be bringing back, I forgot to put the nurses on. So you'll see the two nurses, so this, we had to have nurse on staff.
Yep.
But, yep.
Thank you.
And this is state aidable on all this, right? Tom?
And
Yes,
it
it
also
is.
is paid for by
Yep.
some of our other districts.
Is this all
too.
special ed?
Yes.
Mhm.
We do not offer a gen ed summer school program. And if we did offer a gen ed summer school program, we could not, just as we could not for special ed, you cannot charge your own students. And so our students have always gone to other districts for summer school.
At a cost to this district?
No, at a cost to themselves.
Oh. All right.
If you wanted to have summer school as a revenue source, students from other districts would have to pay us to come. But Frontier has an incredible program, which would be difficult for us to compete with.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Administrative Staff Association MOU regarding a one-day furlough be approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the extension of the collective bargaining agreement MOU with the Administrative Staff Association be approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the supervisory staff organization MOU regarding a one-day furlough be approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the director of finance MOU regarding a one-day furlough be approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the board, the superintendent MOU regarding a one-day furlough be approved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, transportation via school bus be approved for Town of Eden Recreation for their July 30th, 2014 summer field trip to Darien Lake.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, transportation via school bus be approved for Eden KinderCare summer field trips.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this an income revenue for us?
Is it an income revenue?
Yes, it is. And we've done it last year. I believe we've done it every year.
Every year.
It's cost neutral, it's not revenue, really.
It's
Well,
I mean, it pays for the buses and the mileage and so forth. We don't make a profit off this, do we?
no, we really don't, because we figured out the rate at the beginning of the year of the transportation, so you're right, it's actually.
We would have kept it at the old rate. So we were charging a lot more before.
Well, we went with the mid-rate. We had a lower rate, we had a higher rate, and we settled at a mid-rate because we were charging everything more than what we should have been charging at a higher rate, which is causing people
No one
not,
uses this, yeah.
and not just for driver.
This is just
Oh, just driver, yeah, no, that's neutral.
All All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, a contract for driver education with Ronald Allman be approved.
Second.
Discussion?
Do we have to renew this every year?
Yes.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the resolution to accept credit card payments for school taxes be approved as presented.
Second.
Discussion?
Okay, and what this is right now the town allows individuals to put their taxes on credit card. Can everyone hear me? Okay. Right now, the town allows everyone to put their taxes on credit card. Many districts, or many towns actually also have the school districts allow for the same. We have not done that. And this past year, the town really wanted to go there, but my first year in, I didn't want to commit to it until I got through 1 year. I've done that. So now residents will have the option, if they want, at no additional cost to us, to put their school tax payments on their credit card. The advantage for taxpayers is that at the very end of the cycle, they can avoid the late penalties. They will incur the interest rate from the credit cards, but it is less than what the penalties are for not paying on
I
time.
have another question.
Sure.
What about the, are we charged? Do we have a?
No, there's
It
no
goes-
additional charge for
So it
us.
just goes through the town?
It goes through the town. The individuals will pay the credit card difference fee.
But the credit card charges you a fee.
Well, it goes right through to the individual.
Pass back to them.
It costs more to
gets
pay on
passed
the
back
credit
right
card.
to the individuals.
So it would
They
cost,
absorb the
if I
fee.
wanted to pay you on a
So if
credit?
it's $100, it'd be $102.50. So that 2.5% or whatever the credit card fee would be passed right along.
Really?
The county does it as well, because the county can't pay for the credit card processing fee, so they charge the individual for that fee.
Okay.
The only loss the district would see is we do not receive revenues from the late payments.
Did we used to?
We did, upwards of up to 10,000.
Well, then maybe we better not vote on that. Yes.
Certainly, that's why I wanted to point it out, to let everyone know. There have been many requests from taxpayers to do it, so I just want to make sure everyone knows. It doesn't cost us more, but we don't get that additional revenue. And that 10,000, it's not a hard 10, it's just whoever's late. It just depends on the number of late people. That changes from year to year. You could have 1 or 2 people, you can have 20, you can have 50, it just depends on the year.
You guys want to table it?
I want to help the people out as much as possible, given the fact of the tax burden we put on them. I would say, let's do this.
Okay.
I mean,
Works.
How many people did we have late this past year?
We had about 7 people late.
all
Well,
seven?
well below that 10,000 mark.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Discover Pathways to Financial Success grant in the amount of $17,575 be accepted.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I would just like to say congratulations to Joanne. Where is she? She's standing, she's sitting behind Lou. This was an awful lot of work. It was submitted twice. I do know that Kelly LaRosa and Jeff also helped her doing this, and I can see that Sue Wilhelm is pretty excited about it, too. From where you're sitting, could you guys just talk a little bit about what it means? I mean, getting a grant for us is really big, because normally we don't qualify for grants. But just briefly, what is it, and
So it's from the Discover card, Discover Finances, and it has to do with personal finance. So we look at, and I worked on reassessment, the post-assessment, and we have to give them information to support the personal finance classes. So we received 30 iPads, a smart board, and additional curriculum material.
it's awesome. Excellent, thank you for doing that.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the 2013-2014 appropriations be increased by $2,224.37 to $25,780,628.21 to account for increased revenues.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Do you want to thank you?
Information and proposals.
Kelly?
While they're setting up, I'd just like to back up on the notation that you might see up on the screen, if you can read it from where you are. And just every board meeting, you see these notes to increase our appropriations. And this is always donations. It's always work by people, or it's a gift to the district. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who do this consistently every month. Here you go.
It lets the teacher collect valuable data, whether they have the children take assessments online or they plug in their results. It helps them analyze their data. And most importantly, it provides links between home and school. So every student will get a login that they can use at home. The teacher can assign videos for them to watch at home, customize assignments for them to watch at home. There's resources for the parents, so if they're not understanding a specific lesson, they can go on and watch the videos and gain more knowledge about that. to help
Mike's
their
thrilled, I can
student.
tell.
That was the part that I loved. So the technology is incredible. And the number 5 benefit is that it raises expectations and rigor for all students. So they're not just memorizing the math, they're understanding what's going on. They're expected to explain their thinking. Every lesson incorporates problem solving, which we'll see in a second. It starts off that way and ends that way. It enhances their reading and writing skills. And it has a spiral review both in the lesson, in assignments, and in assessments. And the teacher has control over what they want to work on when they spiral back. So a couple of my teachers that piloted, Catherine Laverty piloted Go Math at 1st grade, and Judy Maynard piloted at 5th grade. And I'm not going to read you all the components, but there's tons of online teacher resources, there's tons of student resources, and she's just going to show you a couple. So teachers get a Think Central account, and that's where all of these resources are. So you have your core workbook, but all the ancillary materials, you only print out what you need. So we're not buying extra workbooks, we're not printing out extra things, we're customizing it for the students and either having online activities, or if it needs to be printed out, we're printing out what they need. So Julie's going to show us just a couple things.
Just a couple. Okay, she told me just a couple because of time, because I just want to say that I think this is a really great program, and I'm really excited to do this again. All of these, and there's more if you scroll down, all of these are available to the parents at home. What teachers do is they pick the ones that they like for their students to work with the best, and then they put those up on the site. So one of the things that I do not have the teacher edition, so any parents who are looking for the answers, I don't put that up.
How come they keep looking at Mike Breeden?
I need help.
Okay, so this is the student edition, and the reason why I'm showing you this is I really want to show you what the student actually, how easy it is to use in the classroom to get to the lesson if I want to do it on the smart board. Let's see, multiplication tables. Okay, it starts out with an unlock the problem. Sometimes the lessons even start out with a real world video that you can show and then get into this, which is related to the problem. One of the things I like about these unlock the problems is because a lot of times they're connected to science and social studies lessons, and since I teach science too, I like that. So it starts out, and we usually do the lesson together. Catherine, just, if you do it differently than I do, just, you know.
We have no smart boards at our school, so very differently. But
yeah, and I borrowed one. I'd like to have one. Okay, so we have to unlock the problem, and then we do some examples together. What happens next is they always have 2 check marks here. A lot of teachers use those check marks as gearing, okay, let's see, now I've taught the lesson, let's see which students understand it. So I might go through everything here, and then when I see those 2 check marks, I'll say, why don't you do those on your own? And I'll walk around and kind of, see who's getting it and who's not. When they get to on your own, I'll say, math club time. Some of you will have to do these on your own, and some of you, I want to invite you to the math club. And I do these together with them, just to make sure that they understand.
So a fantastic use of live data. That is live data right there.
So, and then this is the next page. It always ends with the problem solving, and then I kind of bring the group together, and we do that together again.
Judy, can you just read what I think is 24?
Oh, you know what?
See that?
No, I can't.
You can make it bigger on the smart board.
I know.
So what did you want me to read?
No, I can see it now, thanks.
Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Hey, one of the other things, so that was the student edition.
does is it allows, teachers use it in the classroom. Some teachers like to use it in the classroom. I like to use it for parents at home. So when I connect it to that, what happens is that now they get the lesson. You can hear it pretty similar to how I taught it in the classroom. And the parents can go through this. It teaches the parents what the students learned in class. And the parent, I've gotten great feedback from it. Then there's some more problems where the student can work through more problems, and there's several. There's independent practice, and then there's even a quiz that can be connected to the teacher, so I can tell if the student actually, it would go to my name. So there's a lot of things that parents can do at home.
So there's some computer skills that are attached to it as well.
Yeah. There's a, let's see, what do I want? I want to get it back. Where is it? Okay, I just logged out of it. I might have to get it back. Here it is. See, they're all over the place. Okay, let's see. Let's see which number to go. Oh, it's gonna close it. Sorry about that. I'm not getting it. It's hiding. Sorry about that. If I close out, I think it's gonna close the whole thing out. There we go.
Yeah, close the message box out first.
Oh. Here we go. Yes. Okay. Nothing like that.
It takes a village.
Okay. How am I doing, Coach? You're doing good. You're fine. Okay. One of the other things, Mega Math, I'm looking for. Here it is. And you can't have a program without games, especially when we have the technology that we have now. So there's a bunch of games. I'm going to show you one, fractions, like fractions, literal, the equivalent of fractions. Fractions is really big starting in third grade, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And that person, or whatever you call it, wants to show you how to play it. So they really explain it really well. This is a 1, this is a 1/2. What they're telling you to do is try to get as many of these to equal 1/2. So there's a lot of these kinds of activities for them to do when they're playing games. Way to go. Yay. I made that
Mrs. Maynard, could they pull this up on an iPad at home as well?
Yeah, these, like I'm doing it on a smart board, but this can be done on their computer at home.
That's really cool.
Okay, I can stand over there and do it and then play. Okay, and then since I did 1/2, it asks you, so how many 8s equal 1/2? And this is where the equivalent. That says yay. Okay, so that's one. Number lessons. Everything relates to real world. I know you don't believe me because see, there's even cartoons, but then there's something like this, where it's Lulu's lunch counter. I'm going to use quarters. Okay, Lulu has a lunch counter. They're going to put food on it, hopefully. There's a banana worth a quarter. They're going to tell you to try to pay for that banana that's worth a quarter. What you do is you start dragging your money over. And there's many of them. Like, look, if there's like, if I go to one of these, look at how many. There's so many different things to use. And I think the last thing, and there's iTools, which is a lot the same. A lot of teachers use iTools in the classroom. I think because of time, I just want to go different reviews. So it's kind of giving us an idea of what the park is going to look like. You can take the kids to the computer lab, they can practice doing things there. The other assessment guide has here has end of chapter assessments. It has different versions. It has multiple choice. It has an open-ended questions. There's diagnostic tests. There's performance tests. So there's, as you can see, I'm really thrilled about there's bilingual math boards. There's PDSL types of things. And the other thing that I really like is that there's reteach and enrichment exercises for the kids, and you can actually prescribe those as the students see how they do on the test, and you know how to prescribe it. So there's tons of stuff.
Did I also hear you say that you can view afterwards what they did at home?
The quiz there will go directly to me.
Nice.
Because they use their same login that they use in the classroom, they use it at home too.
That's really neat.
It is nice. Thank you.
I also completely love the program for first grade, and I'm really in awe of watching all the things that they're able to do at your school with the smart board. Like in our school, we have just the one smart board in room 5, so I have tried to take the kids to do a lot of these activities because they're such wonderful resources, but we have like one projector and then one little 5 or 6-year-old bumps it, and then the whole machine has to be, or the whole smart board has to be like realigned, and it's not like mounted on the ceiling, so they just walk into their shadow. So to take them to, like, with our one smart board to do any of these, like, I love the resources, and I so wish that we had them, but it's wonderful as they are at home. Like, they're not really accessible to us at all at the GLP, but it's wonderful that they're there if we ever do have the smart boards in our classrooms. That would be wonderful.
As long as we're plugging smart boards, I use it. As long as I have it in my classroom, I use it, but I have one of those floatable ones that everybody shares. And when you get so used to using the smart board and then it's goodbye, what it does is instead of, like I'm standing out there talking to you, doing things, what it does is it sits you down by an overhead projector or something, and it makes the teacher more stationary that way rather than being up and really doing that. So there's the plug.
Just to have like those K through 2 kids up and down, hands on, like they would just love this. Like the few times I was able to take them in, they just loved it. Like, but it is like, it becomes more of like, they bump it and I'm like, oh darn, we gotta like redo this. That's great activity. I love the program.
Any questions?
So what other school districts are possibly utilizing this? I mean, do we know how many within the state are using it or in their region?
There are other districts using it off the top. I'd have to get back to you to get specific. Is that North Carolina? And there's other ones also. Yeah.
So what is it about GLP that won't allow it to have smart boards?
We can't mount anything in the ceiling with GLP. They also have a power issue. It'll have literally 2 plugs in the classroom.
The building's laden with asbestos.
Oh.
So that's why you can't do a lot of mounting in the ceiling and walls and stuff.
But they do make nice ones that are like this, that have the thing over it that wouldn't have to be mounted in this.
I've seen those.
We want to
Oh, you got more excited watching it. I saw you.
Yeah, oh God, I tried it at home, or I go and I try the smart board, and I get so excited about taking my class in, but it just becomes so much more of a hassle, like, because you just spend more time trying to set it up, and really they just walk right into their shadow, and they can't, it becomes, yeah, sorry.
Is there, why are we letting go of the other math program?
Every math was not aligned to the Common Core standards. It was written at least 10 to 15 years ago.
So all that headache of trying to learn that?
But that's not unusual.
It did a good job when the old standards, and everyday math has a totally different approach where it's constantly spiraling, where the new standards want mastery in each area, so this teaches for mastery.
Do you think that we'll have better grades in the 7th and 8th grade because of this? Is this going all the way up?
This goes till 5th grade.
5th? What takes over after 5th?
6th grade will still use we'll use Go Math till we see what is best for the middle school. So we're treating 6th grade like middle school. So they'll use Go Math. We didn't purchase the program like we did for K-5.
Do you that using Go Math in K-5 will change what you do at 6, 7, and 8 when those kids get up to those levels?
Yes, and well, teaching to the standards and making sure that they're proficient at every standard is going to change what they can do in middle school.
Because the current program that we use doesn't ensure that mastery at each standard. I think that's the biggest issue. And that each year they're mastering fewer and fewer, a less percentage of those skills, until you get to a certain age where if you're not mastering 90% of them, you're really having a problem.
So did you only have, were you the only 2 teachers of the program, or was all of first grade, all of fifth?
It was one teacher
in each grade?
K for second, third, fourth, fifth, and a special ed teacher, and then one teacher in each of those grade levels in special ed tried the Envisions program, so that's what we were comparing.
Okay. And what was your feedback from the parents, truthfully?
During the course of the year?
For the program, the
Yeah.
parents loved being connected to being able to help their child at home.
Okay. How about first grade? It's the same, they love the component of being able to, my class had it where they could go online and do the activities that she had, and they liked having that access available to them. Okay. So is it totally different for the fifth graders? Is it totally different than the way that they have been learning? Were they confused?
I think the misconception is that there's only one way to do something, and what we love when kids bring in all different ways. Like some of your parents will say, "Oh, we don't like it because we don't know how to do it that way." But us teachers are saying, "Oh, let's see how your parents do it," and that's a neat thing because seeing different ways. I think the beautiful thing about how Go Math does it is there's a lot of drawing, so that when they're like dividing a fraction, 1/2 divided by 1/3, they're actually seeing how to divide that up. They're drawing it out. A lot of your kids that are in our building now are drawing math. It's not just using manipulatives, but it's actually understanding by drawing. So I think that's a really nice way that we teach it. But every way is a good way if it gets it to the answer. But understanding it is, that's the Common Core, it's understanding it, not just doing.
When Emma brings homework, my fourth grader, I'll say, Emma, I think you have to do it this way. Mrs. Cook told me I could do it that way, Mom. I could do it that way. She tells me I can choose my way. I'm like, all right, fine, do what Mrs. Cook says. But it seems like it really makes them think differently.
Okay. I was questioning about the lattice, because I know some of my kids learned the lattice, and they were focused on that. Did you have any trouble with the kids that had already learned the lattice way?
Oh, no. In fact, like when I went to scoring and that was like one of the things that, they were training other schools, and because when we were going for scoring, our school was doing the lattice. But lattice is just a different way to organize the numbers. So, and there's different ways. You can just line them up.
But the students really knew that way.
They knew how to organize that way. You're right. And that's it's a great way to do it.
But some of them had a difficult time veering off of that. So that's what I was wondering, if they could.
When they got to 5th grade, because I'm a 5th grade teacher, and then in 6th grade they didn't focus on the lattice so much, what I started to do was to really show them the traditional method so that they knew both ways. And I think all kids go through a transition, and that was just one of the transitions we went through when we did everyday math.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, the second thing I'll update you on is elementary report card update. With the onset of the new standards, we realized that started that work, and we slowly realized it is a huge undertaking to reprogram your report card. So what we decided to do was focus on the primary report card first, K through 2. It's what we did all this year. It'll be launched for next year. And then next year, we're going to continue to work on with the upper elementary grades to give us more time to explore the standards more, have a deeper understanding of it, and make sure everything is looking the way we want to look. In your packet, there is a sample report card. That's not how it will look because it'll get fed into our system online. The report card online technology will do that. So that's just a printout of what will be on there. And I'm just going to go through just a couple of the changes that we made. So the new features are, the standards are referenced. It's a standards-based report card, and key standards are referenced in each area. So there's a reading section, a writing section, a foundational skills section, a math section. We can't put every standard on the report card because it would probably be like 15 pages long. So we had to pick the most important standards for that grade level in that area. So for example, under reading, identifying main idea and key details is one that would be under the reading section. That's a really important standard. Instead of giving a universal 4-3-2-1 in reading or a 4-3-2-1 in math, it's going to be more specific and they're going to get graded on each standard. So you might be strong in one part of math, but when you work in another, the parent can then identify where the weakness is and work on that area.
That's very powerful.
Very general, you get more specific information. So the key for those areas, you can read up there, 4 exceeds proficiency, 3 demonstrates proficiency on the standard. So a 3 would be somebody who is working at grade level and doing what they need to do. A 4 is someone who is advanced, doing things way above their grade level. A 2, they're approaching proficiency. A 2 is fine, they're getting there. A 1 is showing limited achievement, they need a lot of extra support. We will also feature a student's independent reading level on the report card, which gives great information for parents. So by this grid, which would look nicer on the report card, in the fall, if they're a first grade student and when it's assessment time, if they're reading at a level C, you know that's back in the kindergarten area. They need extra work. Or you can see if your student is advanced, if they're reading on a second grade level, that would be marked too. So it's again a way to differentiate. We moved away from social skills. What is called now is behaviors that impact learning. So those are key characteristics of the learner that would impact learning. And an example would be works well independently. And the key for that is either they consistently do it or it's an area of concern. Each grade level will have a list. And then they're also marked on their effort, if they're consistent in their effort or if it's an area of concern. So a standard-based report card separates out the characteristics of the learner and then how they do on each standard. The biggest change, we're going to move to trimester reporting, which means a report card 3 times a year rather than 4 in the elementary level only. So what that does is it gives us more instruction time. So we're not always like teaching and then getting ready for a report card, teaching and getting ready for a report card with formative assessments. You're doing more summative assessments and you have more time for instruction. And that fits with the philosophy of Common Core because it's giving you more time to teach to mastery. And then we're going to inform parents by putting information in the district newsletter, putting out a Global Connect so they're aware, doing presentations at open house, and having this information at parent-teacher conferences. So for the first report card, we'll align with parent-teacher conferences.
That's nice.
And then in the fall, we'll reconvene with the upper elementary teachers and start this work all over again and then get that report card in order. Do you have any questions?
How are you going to get this information out to the parents so that they understand what to do? Because we don't mail them home.
No, I will put I'll put a blurb in the district newsletter, an article describing it, and then I'll have more of a handbook, probably like 2 pages, describing each of these things in depth with a link on the website. And then I'll go over that again at open house and explain and be able to answer questions with them.
Do you get a good turnout for open house too?
Yes.
I have a question. In what grade do the kids learn to write in cursive?
End of second or third, but it's not a standard, so we have local decision on when we would want to do that or not.
Do we do it?
I'm very limited.
Well, I'm just wondering, because they need to learn how to write their name, their signature, and it's... Yeah, and, I mean, they couldn't even read the Declaration of Independence, because it's in cursive. Don't you find that maybe possibly something that we should spend a little bit more time on?
I know they do in second and third grade.
Okay.
I think once we move forward, I think teachers will start to get printing their cursive, and then they work process so many things that they've handed in.
Well, it's sad because you have to know how to write your name, your signature. And if you've seen my children write their names, scary thought. I don't know, I really think that maybe a little bit more time should be spent on that.
Patty,
in my
I
opinion.
think that that's something that the board decides on, and that might be something that we would think is important. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy. If we think it's important, I did read an article about California. They removed cursive from their curriculum and realized how important it was, and they put it back in.
Okay.
So you're talking at the state level?
Yes.
What I would suggest is let's just do a study and find out what we do with it.
It's not removed.
Yeah.
Let's do a study and
I
find
just
out
know
what we do with it.
that on a personal level, my kids have a hard time reading cursive. And writing it's even worse. So, I don't know, common sense to me, I mean, we're not that old. So, these kids need to learn how to read and write it.
So you balance it with 21st century skills and you sign things electronically, so it's a balance of getting that all out.
Okay.
It's all important. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Isn't that Elena Hanna?
It's such an interesting question. My husband can't read cursive. He really can't. It's crazy. I laugh at him all the time. But then he can't stand it because he found out
That it really connects the brain and hand, and it's very good for them to learn how to do that.
But no one teaches it in our school district,
I'm not going, I'm saying it's really a good thing.
Cursive was always my favorite.
Huh?
I sucked at it, but I always liked it.
I can't read my signature now, so.
No, you can't,
And I learned cursive.
I only use it when I write a check.
Can I write it I mean, can I write cursive anymore? I doubt it.
Okay.
I can, but I just smudge it, so yeah, that looks right.
I may need your help this in the view, but I'll let you know.
I'll talk to Kelly and see. You can always bring it back as an art.
My aunt sent a letter in cursive to me. I could read maybe 50% of
Perfect.
that.
When I read the article, that is where you write it. This art thing.
Okay. Should have moved it.
I like every year.
I was there last time.
Well, you're the one that picked up the science, right?
Yeah.
Mike, you guys ready?
Yeah, we're
Okay,
ready.
they're ready.
Okay. All right. So, first of all, what I want to do is just show you a little bit about the results from last night and what we're looking at for the budget vote and the other propositions, and along with the board members. And then we have a little bit of show and tell to kind of let everyone know what this is actually going to mean in their taxes, and with the refund, which now people will be getting as well. So first of all, just to remind everyone, the budget, which was up yesterday, was for $26,396,480,000. And as you can see in proposition number 1, 485 to 306, so that did pass. All 4 propositions did pass. That passed with a little over 61% of the vote. The second proposition, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. I'll spend it again on the demonstration, are for the bus and vehicle purchase for 2 large buses, 1 small bus. That passed as well with 64% of the vote. The third proposition, the conversion of the capital reserve fund, and that is taking the old capital reserve, the capital reserve 2007, converting that to a new capital reserve 2014 with a higher limit of $8 million. That passed as well. And finally, the fourth proposition for capital project feasibility study next year, that also passed, spending a small amount of money, about $20,000 from the capital reserve. We cannot spend it this year. We cannot spend it until the next school year, so after July 1st. Okay? And then finally, also with the board member candidates, the order of the vote, Colin Campbell first, Michael Burns second, Michael Breeden third, Gary Sam fourth. All the incumbents are back in office for the following year as well. Someone had mentioned to me earlier today, a couple of people have said, congratulations, Tom. Yesterday was my 1-year anniversary. My first day was, well, the ambulance was called. Someone, fell right outside at the election. It was just a very, tumultuous day in many aspects. So there were many things that actually happened that day. This year was a much quieter year. But I think my response to a lot of people when they said congratulations, Tom, is it's really not a congratulations, Tom. It's a congratulations, many other people. I'm just about one person who works on the budget. So when I take a look at it, first and foremost, it is the board's budget. It's your budget, so congratulations to all of you for passing the budget. I think that's where, first and foremost, the thanks need to go. After that, then I would say this year's budget advisory team, I've said this many times before, the budget advisory team have done a yeoman's job, of which the board members are on it, community members, parents, union members as well. That was a big change for this district this year, and I think that really it worked well. It was a first step, and it really, I think, did a lot to try and get information out to the public, get information back to the board, and have a two-way communication established. And I think that we actually achieved that. So congratulations to the BAT members as well. The administrators, I say as a whole, this group worked as a group. I was very impressed. I have not seen this in many other districts, but when push came to shove and we had to look and say, okay, it's a $2 million gap, where can we present to the board, they worked as a group. And then finally, for everybody sitting here as a community member for coming out and supporting the budget. So we could not have done it without you. So I assume that you've been thanked every year in the past, but if you have not been, thank you very much, because we wouldn't be doing what we do if you didn't support us. So thank you very much. One of the things I wanted to show is, and I don't know how much this word actually get out there, there's been a lot of information and misinformation that has come out through the budget process. The governor's office has put out some misinformation throughout the process, in my opinion. But one of the things that taxpayers should know is what we're looking at for next year with the tax increase. Now, our tax levy increase was 1.78%. We did not go above our tax cap. And what the governor said is, if you do not go above your tax cap, taxpayers will see a rebate check. The way that it is set to work this year is you will see a rebate check in the amount that your taxes went up, as long as you did not go over the rebate check. So for us, 1.78, your taxes are going up 1.78, your refund check should be in the same amount. What does that look like to the average person?
Where do they get the rebate from?
The check will come right from New York State, right to your doorstep.
Tom, doesn't it have to match, doesn't the municipalities also have to
Keep it under 2%?
keep it under that point?
But for the school part, the school, I have not heard separately
I thought both
about.
of them had to be working together.
I have not, well, all right, so I have not heard that, so I do not want to speak out of turn with that. So let's just say if both are working together and the town, let's say they're under their cap, and I don't know if they are.
They approve the ability to go over the cap in case they need it, but whether they do or not, I don't know.
Okay, so good point, and I don't know that because they've really only talked in terms of schools. So let's just say they stay within their cap.
Will you check?
Yes, I will double check and I can let you know at the next meeting. But let me show you what this is actually going to mean on your school tax side. I'm going to show you a couple things. If you take a look, I know it's very hard to read, so I'm going to read this to you actually. I do not expect that you're going to be able to read this. The tax levy for 13-14 was $13,045,000. Basically, the tax levy, again, is the amount the taxpayers pay. So for this year, 13,045. Next year, what has been approved now is 13,276. The difference is 231,490. That, again, that amount is supposed to be coming to back to taxpayers. What does that mean? What will this look like to the average homeowner? If you take a look, I have called each of the assessor's office at this point. I'm going to point out, this is my caveat. I think I've given you guys enough caveats along the way just to let you know these numbers are not set in stone. These numbers will not be set in stone until August. So please do not shoot the messenger. If they change a little, they are likely to change, I will tell you right now. They're fairly firm, they tell me, but they can change. So when you look at the assessed value, this column right here, this is the total school assessed value that we start with. This is what we get actually from the assessor's office. So for Boston, the assessed value property amount is $110 million. For Concord, the assessed value of all the property is almost $5.5 million. For Eden, the largest of our group, $316 million. For Evans, $48 million, and for North Collins, $10 million. Now, the assessments, as I think everyone knows, every town assesses at a different value. So not everyone's on a level playing field. So what the state does, they make it a level playing field. So what one town may be underassessed, another town may be overassessed, and I'm oversimplifying this, but I know we presented, I think, in last August. But just as a quick refresher, if someone's under and someone's over, the state says we are going to put everyone on a level playing field. So the state gives us an equalization rate. And they say, okay, so if you are under 100, you're undervalued. If you're over 100, you're overvalued. So for Boston, Concord, and Eden, we're underassessed. So Boston, not by much, we're at 99%, so it's pretty close to true value across the state. Concord at 46%, way undervalued according to the state level. Eden, 64%, and then Evans and North Collins are both at 100. So when you take a look and you multiply these out, so that 110, the state's saying is really worth 111. The Eden, 316, is really worth 494. And the reason why that's important is because they take a look at that total assessed value and they say what we consider your true value to be, this column here, will be your percent of the tax levy. So they don't look at this level, they look at this right here, the true value, and that's your percentage of the tax levy. So for Eden, for instance, Eden taxpayers pay 73% of the tax levy. So 73% of $13,276,000. In essence, that's how it's worked out, and that's just divided by all of the Eden taxpayers. So that then gives us our tax rate based on the percentage and the equalization rate. So for Eden right now, and again, please do not take this as an absolute. This can change if the assessments change. So what we're looking at right now, the tax rate in Boston is 19.84. The tax rate in Concord is 42.69. The tax rate in Eden is 30.68. The tax rate in Evans and North Collins, which are at 100%, are 19.63. So if you look at the bottom, the overall tax rate is 19.63. If you're at 100% equalization, as Evans and North Collins, it's 19.63. If you are underassessed, meaning your property isn't as worth as much as what the state says, your tax rate is a little bit higher to get us to that equal rate of what New York State says. So looking at this, I wanted to show for an assessed value of $150,000. Not what you would sell the house for, not what you think the house is worth, but what the assessment is actually showing at. If your house is assessed at $150,000, here basically is what you're going to be paying in taxes, and you see it definitely varies by municipality. So in Boston, $2,900, $2,975. Concord, $6,403. Eden, $4,602. Evans and North Collins, $2,945. And again, that's the same house value in different towns because of the tax rate and the equalization factor going on. Now, focus on Eden for a second. See this 4602? That is based on this year's tax roll, tax levy of 13,276. If I go back and I put in last year's level, I'm going to do this for a reason. That 4602 changes to 4522. So that's your tax difference from this current year to next year. So 4602, and this year paying 4522. So the difference of roughly $80. So for the person with an assessment in Eden of $150,000, $80 will be coming back in a check from New York State. In essence. So, questions from the board in terms of how that works? Now, for next year, all bets are off for next year. We even met again this morning to talk about year 2 of how that's going to work. Will it look like this? Will everyone get a check in their home for that equal amount? Don't know.
Is it just properties with homes on it, or is it any piece of property?
Well, first of all, it's for Star residents.
Okay.
So you have to be receiving Star to qualify. Okay? If you do not, you do not get a rebate. Okay? So again, in year 2, what we already do know is next year we're going to have to demonstrate a savings of some sort. We are working on that right now with BOCES to see how that's going to look.
We're hearing it's 100,000.
We are hearing 100,000. I will say BOCES 2 offered to be the lead on that and have all Erie 2 BOCES go in on it, which is different than what we first heard. It's changing every day, so I don't know what that's going to look like at this point. But I at least want to give people a chance to see what their tax difference would look like and what it would mean in terms of a rebate check. So hopefully that's a little helpful on that. Okay. And then finally for me, the veterans tax exemption. And we did talk back in February. And I had a conversation the other day with a gentleman in the audience, so he reminded me of what month it was. So thank you very much. But one of the things that has changed slightly from February to today is one of the towns, the exemption amount for veterans is different now than what they initially reported. So on July 2nd, we are going to have a public forum to discuss a tax veterans exemption. And there, what we're looking to do is to have someone from Department of Taxation come and speak to us in that as well. And the gentleman also talked about Fran McLaughlin, which I think, Mike, you also talked about as well. So if either one wants to get his contact information, we'll call.
Fran is ready, but I just need the time for the July 2nd, for you want Fran to be here. He's all on board.
Yep, it's down the radar.
So 5:30?
Yeah.
5:30 on the 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is not part of the board agenda. It is prior to the board meeting. So 5:30 to 6:40 will be the public forum.
And Mr. Braden, if you could have him call me just so I could run through some of the details, what we'd be looking at in terms of presentation and some of the specifics, that would be wonderful.
Now, did they change the bill? You said they
They didn't change the bill. They included more in the exemption total than what should have been there.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh,
So it's actually less.
lesser.
Mm-hmm, correct.
Okay.
What does it mean?
What was that?
What does she mean? What does it mean?
So for every municipality, there is a veterans exemption amount. So one of the municipalities reported an exemption amount that was higher than what it actually should have been. So, yep. Questions on the veterans tax exemption?
Could you just go over the purpose of the forum and then what the board can and cannot do after that forum?
Absolutely. A couple things. Well, the purpose of the forum is to bring an understanding for the board, for the community, and what the veterans tax exemption is, what the impact is for veterans, what the impact is for the remaining taxpayers, if there is an impact. And then in terms of looking at that, the next steps are looking at to see whether or not you consider, want to, or do have a straw poll, a vote from the public, or want to consider, do not have a vote for the board. Generally speaking, as we talked about before, once you initiate the veterans tax credit, it would be difficult probably to roll that back.
Because there's no provision to roll it back.
But really, the July 2nd is honestly a chance. This is still a new provisional law as of January 1st. And again, in February, even when we were getting those facts and figures, even the assessors didn't have all that information, and they were giving us more information than what we actually needed and what the impact was going to be. This information has changed a little bit as time has gone by. It's starting to settle out. So now it really is, what does this mean? It has gained a lot of attention in the press. So what would it mean for the average Eden resident? What would it mean for the veteran? What would it mean for the non-veteran? What would your taxes look like? Hopefully what we'll see on July 2nd is, I would love for us to be able to do a presentation like this and actually say, what is it going to look like for a homeowner? What are your taxes going to change? Also, with the veterans tax credit, that comes out first. So
What's the impact on the school?
right, we get STAR reimbursement from the state, and usually is at 100% of the STAR reimbursement. It now no longer will be 100% because the veterans exemption comes first, then the STAR. What is that all going to mean? And I'll be honest, at this point, I don't know what it's all going to mean. So having someone from Department of Taxation here to help guide us through and walk us through what is it going to look like, much like this, what's it going to look like for us? I think everybody here wants to and needs to know that, what the impact is.
Tom, this is just New York State, it's not federal, is that correct?
As far as I'm aware, it is just a law that the governor enacted on January 1st, so only New York State that he
Did
enacted
he
in
give a
January.
reason or a purpose why?
Votes. Excuse me.
I don't know the answer to that. I'll take the politically correct and high ground with the governor, as I think I beat him up enough this year, so I don't know the answer to that. Any other questions for me? Okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep.
Are we up?
Yes.
Here we go. All right. You'll hear much more about this in the next couple of days because it's really only a week from now, but we have mentioned this 2 or 3 times during board meetings. Next Wednesday, May 28th, the district itself, not one particular building, but the district itself, will be participating in an emergency drill. This emergency drill could entail any one of the 4 that we practice, from evacuations, which our kids are very good at crawling out windows, to a fire drill, to a lockout, to a lockdown, to shelter in place. We feel very strongly in our district that we need to be prepared for an emergency if in fact one were to come our way, knowing that no matter how well you prepare, that in the end result, what you need to do is think. And you need to think through it. That's true in any type of crisis. This particular emergency drill will be publicized in the Hamburg Sun, in the Penny Saver. A Global Connect call or 2 will go out. I'm hoping that we can put something up on the sign at the front of the elementary school, and I am approaching the Legion as well as the Catholic Church on 62 just to state that we're involved in drills. What I don't want is for people to panic if they see emergency personnel in the area coming to our school district, but we also believe that it's very important for emergency service personnel to be involved in our emergency drills. They're a piece of it. If it were a real emergency, they would be involved. We've seen this when the alarm gets pulled on a fire alarm, they come. So I just want to make sure that the people in the local area know that this is happening. It will be in the morning, and I will put a Global Connect out when we are done. In terms of construction management, we put an RFP out for a construction management firm to help us schedule any proposed capital projects that we may have. We have 6 companies that expressed interest, and right now Lucinda and Dave Martin, Tom and I are involved in analyzing the plans that have come back to us, and then we will also schedule interviews for any of the construction management firms that we feel we have questions with. Our hope and our goal is to bring something to the board in June for you to approve a particular construction management firm. I would encourage any of you that want to be involved in this between now and the June meeting with us to please get involved, especially if you're part of one of the subcommittees. Our secondary goal after we have a construction management firm on our rolls is to hire an architect to help us with our 5-year mandated building, 5-year plan for a building survey and also to work with the construction management firm on any type of feasibility studies we have going forward on a construction project. One of the things that we heard, especially from Mrs. Laverty and Mike Breeden also mentioned it, is the troubles that we have at GLP in terms of technology because of the asbestos or because of the power. And so we want to make sure when we take a look at these type of studies that we're doing the right things for our district. Atop of that, too, what we want to take a look at is the possibility of taking some of our buildings off of cogen so that we can put a backup plan in terms of on the grid when we find some of our power spikes, but it would also allow us to take a look at coming closer to this area of the junior senior high school in case we're looking at trying to do anything that is more power intensive in this building. The third on my report is the Section 6 vote on athletic contests. And Marissa, if I misspeak, please feel free to correct me, okay? When I was at a Section 6 meeting last week, and Marissa and I have so much fun at all of these every month, don't we? But we are there as Section 6. She goes as an athletic director representative, and I go as a superintendent representative, so that we are both speaking from a different role. As a superintendent, my role is to make sure that the superintendent's voice is heard on any decisions that are made regarding Section 6. And Section 6 is directly Western New York schools. One of the proposals that came to us from Section 2, 3, and/or 4, which is more mid to eastern state, is to bring back some of those competitions in basketball that in 2010, I think, was eliminated on a 2-year trial basis, and then the second, and then another 2-year trial basis, and that was a direct attempt to save money for districts. The proposal from Section 2, 3, and/or 4 was to start to bring back just basketball, 1 this year and/or 2 contests coming back. The conversation at the table was, if you're going to bring back competitions, why just basketball? Why not all of them if you're going to reinstate them? And then the conversation ensued about it's all or nothing. If you're going to bring back competitions, you either bring back them all, not just basketball, or don't bring back any. At this point, the conversation really came about that if in fact school districts are having so much trouble trying to balance a budget, why would we make this move right now with athletics to cost a district more money in terms of sports, or to put a district at a disadvantage if in fact it couldn't do that? And so the superintendent spoke up at that meeting to once again talk about the difficulty that boards are having with school budgets and losing staff in terms of instructionally, and to keep our priorities where they should be, which is on instruction first. And the vote by Section 6 was to not increase any athletics at all. And I just want to thank Marissa for getting me involved in this. It's time intensive, but it is very powerful to have a voice in something that makes a difference across the state. And I would say that possibly Sections 2, 3, and 4 aren't seeing the budget issues that we have to even make that type of a proposal. But there isn't one superintendent in Section 6 that would have voted yes to do this. Marissa, is there anything I left out? Okay. Number 4, which is possible meeting dates for 2014, 2015, I would ask the board tonight to please consider trying to consider the night of the board meetings for next year as opposed to waiting until the reorg. If you are happy with the third Wednesday, I'm thrilled with the third Wednesday, and so is our district clerk, because what we find is that most of you do ask questions or look at the board minutes or board agenda on a Monday or Tuesday in case there's questions for a Wednesday. If that were the case, it would help in our planning for the district schedule, because all of our athletic events, all of our concerts truly should be wrapped around the board meetings and not have people have to pick and choose what they want to go to. So I'm going to open it up for discussion item in just a moment. July 2nd is the public forum for the veteran tax exemption. That is also our mandated reorganization meeting. So 5:30 to 6:40 is the public forum, and then 7 o'clock is the regular meeting. August 6th is my proposal for an extra meeting in August. We did this last year as well, and the reason that we need to do that is because you need to, as a board, approve the tax rate. Is there anything else you want to say about that?
No, you saw the tentative. We'll get the updated information from the assessors in August, and then we'll bring it to you.
So please mark your calendar, because we do need a quorum for August 6th. And then August 20th would be the regularly scheduled third Wednesday in August meeting, unless the board has a discussion to change the regular date of board meetings.
Besides the forum, the 6th and the 20th are at 7 o'clock? here.
All board meetings are at 7 o'clock, but the forum on July 2nd begins at 5:30. That is not part of our board meeting. Conversation.
I have no problem with Wednesdays.
Wednesday works for me.
It's fine.
You guys make my day. Okay. All right, so just to put on record, Barb, okay, third Wednesday of the month, and we'll roll out what the calendar looks like. And an update on the speed committee discussions. I find the title to be very interesting, but speed meaning the traffic speed. Okay. And when you work in a high school, sometimes you're not sure what that really means. But the speed committee is something that was established well before my time and did meet last year as well. And it's basically talking about the speed the traffic generally travels on Schoolview and on Route 62, which would be within our school zone. We have reconvened that speed committee, and it will be meeting on May 29th. On May 29th, because we are a municipality that has a lower population, anything that we want to do on our roads with signs or speed zones, we must have New York State Department of Transportation representation and approval, and also Erie County Department of Transportation representation and approval. And then Chief Felshaw will be with us, Dave Martin will be with us, John McCarthy will be with us, and we will convene this committee to take a look at a number of things that we have been talking about. Changing the intersection from Weller to Schoolview into a 90-degree angle onto Schoolview, very similar to what happens at Henry's Corners, coming off of Route 75 onto 62. There would be a stop sign at the end of that street, forcing anybody coming from Weller to stop at the sign, turn left or right. But what it would also do is force anybody that is coming from Main Street on Schoolview that wants to turn onto Weller to make a complete 90-degree turn. Our hope is that that would slow down traffic coming onto Weller, especially coming up near Cobblestone, which right now it's just a straight-on through up the road. That has been a conversation in the past. We do own that corner. If you drive past it now, you'll see some red flags on it. It would create some green space in front of the home that's actually for sale, or the one right next to it. But it has been a conversation in the past, and we're definitely going to push it again. The second thing is to create school zone speed limits, both on 62 and on Schoolview. The conversation in the past on Schoolview is that Schoolview is too long and does not meet the regulations in between GLP and the junior-senior high school to maintain that school zone, so it becomes a speed trap or a speed hazard. But we really believe that with the changing in the laws and a waiver that we could make Schoolview a complete school zone of 25 if we really push it, which I intend to. The third piece is to take a look at don't pass on shoulders on Route 62. Currently, police can ticket you when you pass on the shoulder, and many people do, but they don't really enforce it as much as they will, but the signage could help. And then taking a look at the possibility of more extreme flashing signs where the crosswalks are. Yes.
I read some of the letters that some of the parents had wrote about the concerns, and one of the issues that I am concerned about is walking on the roads without sidewalks. I would like to see the school board go to the town and ask them that if they do any new building, that the buildings have to put in a sidewalk from now on. I'd like to see that done. And the other thing is, what can the town help us with clearing the snow if the kids are on the road? Or can we put sidewalks in? Is there a grant that the town can look for to put a sidewalk in?
One of the things that I left out, which was a conversation piece, and Tom, you add, if in fact I don't add it all, okay, is for us to put a blacktop, as opposed to a sidewalk, but a blacktop that crosses on our property from what is considered the athletic driveway over to the receiving dock driveway. So there would actually be a sidewalk that would come all the way from the crosswalk across our property in front of the school onto the sidewalk that they could use, and then onto where the fence starts, closer to the softball field.
And the other concern where some of the parents said that it's quicker for the kids to go through backyards. Could we look at some of the residences if there is an opening that we could put a shorter path through?
Similar to the one that's coming off of Merrill now?
I have no idea, but let's look at it.
Personal property, you're going to have to...
Well, let's look.
They have one, that's the crosswalk across School View to Merrill right now. Glenn and I have had some conversations regarding transportation. I've also had some conversations with parents about taking a look at some group pickup points coming off of Hillbrook and East Pleasant, and also Merrill and Weller. And the piece to that Rose Heckathorn is being very helpful with is to really try to, and also Jeff Cervoni with our juniors and seniors parking, to get a much, much better read on who does not intend to ride on our buses next year, and only save a percentage, a 10% percentage on our buses, so our buses are fuller. And this will change our routes. This is a huge endeavor. The way that Rose has explained to me, now that we have the software, which we didn't have a few years ago, it should be a bit easier, but it's going to be time intensive, but well worth it, because we really do not fill our buses the way we do, the way that we should. And this was a change in state law to address the budget gaps that schools were having, so we want to take as much advantage of that as we possibly can. Okay.
This committee, are parents allowed to come along and give maybe possible?
Not to this speed committee, no. This speed committee is the primary decision-making to convince the state and the Erie County DOT of what has been previous conversations.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay. If you as a board member would like to come, I would invite you, but not the general public.
Okay.
Okay. And then just personally, I would like to thank everybody on the board for a really great year. It was close to a year ago that this board came together in a really difficult time. And during our board meetings, I have heard 7 different opinions voiced. Some of you in agreement and some of you not. And you know I always say discuss it, talk about it, debate it, but always do it respectfully, which you've done. And I applaud you for this, because it is my honor to work with every one of you and the board as a whole. But I also want to congratulate Mike Burns, Mike Breeden, and Colin, who were all re-elected for another 3 years. Our community has recognized your efforts and your dedication to our students, and so I thank you. Mike, anything from you?
I just want to say thank you to the community for once again supporting the budget and the school district, so thank you.
Can't hear you, Mike. Oh, she wants you to
What,
speak
Barb?
louder. I think we're done.
Okay, next meeting, is that actually June 18th? It says June 21st.
Barb, do you know?
It is June 18th.
So Wednesday, June 18th, 7 p.m. And I move that upon the recommendation of the superintendent, it is anticipated that the Board of Education will enter executive session to discuss the CSEA contract and the confidential employees contract.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries.
Thank you,
Thanks
everyone,
for
for coming. We'll be back after executive session, maybe an hour or so.